So what's the best way to train to overcome fear in a real fight? So the first thing is immersion training. Immersion training works effectively well in developing your ability to deal with fear. The only way to deal with fear is to be fearful, is to experience it. It could be anything as simple as developing scenarios where people are actually exposed to it, which is quite extreme. But in a normal everyday context for ordinary people, you can just say, look, going to your local martial arts school and actually facing the fear and anxiety of actually getting involved in training is a start. It doesn't have to be really extreme, but immersion training or the immersive experience is really the way of putting yourself in that situation where you're starting to feel those physical changes in your body.
So in a sense then, even for someone who's scared to even join a class, just exposing yourself to that fear you have rather than succumbing to it and saying, no, I'm too scared, I'm not going to do it, pushing yourself through that barrier is it's like training your muscles in a way.
Absolutely.
It gives you that exposure to fear so that you're not so unfamiliar with it.
Second form of preparation and training, and that's dealing with surprise attacks. If you can train people to deal with surprise, it actually goes some way to dealing with fear.
Okay.
Surprise basically develops a level of anxiety.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is induce a level of anxiety within the individual. So if we can do that in a controlled fashion, it bulletproofs them against fear.
Okay. So once they start immersing themselves in these different fearful situations, you then have to start changing them up, making them unpredictable so that you're able to adapt to fear as soon as it strikes, which it does in surprise moments.
Yeah, you don't want to quite redline them, but what you want to do is create a state of anxiety where they're having to respond very, very quickly to changing situations and environment.
Yeah, so it's kind of the next level up from immersion therapy in that by immersing them in fear, you're getting them used to being scared.
Yes.
But then in this secondary element, this surprise factor, it's making sure they're not too comfortable in that immersion. You're changing it up and getting them used to things that challenge everything they previously understood.
Exactly. So it's that level of anxiety that you're just tweaking. Once you can tweak that level of anxiety, then you're ready to then inject some skill sets into that. So that would be the third stage, really. Skill set training. Skill set training develops confidence.
Yeah.
So once you've gone through the immersion training, once you've then gone through raising the level of anxiety, because there's a difference between anxiety and fear. So that's why the two subject areas are very, very different. Then the next stage would be bringing skill levels into it.
By that, you mean training them in a particular thing, martial art, let's say, so that they're so confident in their ability to do it that the fear doesn't sort of paralyze them.
Yes, that.
But it's an example of automating certain actions, am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Automating
so the
actions.
first one's dealing with the fear,
Yes.
second one is inducing anxiety, and the third stage is actually becoming automated in the practice.
So that when fear strikes, you're already ahead of it
exactly.
because you don't need to think about the things you're going to do to keep you safe. They're
Exactly.
automatic.
So how does that relate? Because it sounds pretty heavy for the average person who watches our videos on YouTube. So how does that apply to the ordinary individual? Well, it's quite simple, really. If you're looking at, training a martial art, you find a school, good gym, okay? If it's a competitive gym, that probably is going to immerse you into an environment where you're going to feel a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, you're being tested
because
physically.
you're being tested. So that's your immersion. You've got to feel like your heart's palpitating a little bit when you're going to training.
If it's easy and relaxing, it might not be testing you enough.
It's not testing you at all.
Yeah. If it feels like you're going to the spa, you need to switch
You're
it
not
up.
learning. If you feel like you're going to the spa to learn to fight, then you're definitely in the wrong place, right? The surprise element, you're probably not going to get so much from a martial arts school and martial art training.
Could that be synthesized in a way by changing up your training partners regularly so that you're getting that surprise element of how different people respond to your
You
movements?
can do, but still controlled. That's the problem
it's very
with it.
controlled.
I mean, there are a lot of self-defense organisations, including mine, that do a lot of training where what they do is they create scenarios.
Okay, role-playing in a way.
Role-playing, exactly. Role-playing scenarios which incorporate surprise.
Okay.
And that, again, is to challenge you and to raise your level of anxiety.
Yep.
So the last stage really was the skill set. So, for the ordinary person, just learning how to kick, punch, wrestle, whatever it is, with a resisting opponent, would develop your confidence in a way that you can automate your response to dealing with it.
Yeah.
All of these factors are going to help you deal with fear when faced with a potential protagonist in the street.
When fear strikes, these are the steps you need to have gone through already to be able to overcome it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've picked up some information.
For sure.
Feel free to leave comments.